Alright, so today I have a donut tutorial, but kind of the lazy way to do it. And here's what it should look like at the end. Everything is done through a physics simulation. You can see like the frosting just drop onto the donut, and it ends up with not that many artifacts, but if you're looking far away, who really gives a shit. So let's start from the beginning. Delete the cube. Bye. Let's add a torus, which would be the donut, and just play around with the settings. Minor segments, increase that so we can shade smooth later. Make it more donutty by increasing the neutral radius, and shade smooth. And there we go, it looks smooth. Frosting, I'm just going to start by adding a plane, push it up, and now we're going to turn it into a circle by doing a subdivision surface modifier. And this is like the quick and easy way to get a circle made out of quads, and apply it. So now we're going to model the frosting, so delete the center faces. And what you end up with is like one of those ancient Chinese coins. But now let's start playing around with the geometry to get the frosting. Now just select a few edges here and just like pull it out. Inner perimeter doesn't have that much control points to play with, but I don't really care. And it also, this method just shows like the principle of what I'm doing. Alright, so just a little bit more, and alright. Subdivision surface modifier again, but this time we're not going to apply it. Solidify along the positive normal direction at 1. Play around with the thickness and playing around with the subdivision surface modifier. You don't want to do too much, or else it's going to be computationally taxing on the system. So reduce the thickness, probably too thick for the frosting. So now I'm going to set everything as a physics object. So the frosting will be cloth and the donut will be a collision object. And now this is a part where we have to start playing with the cloth settings. So I turned down tension and compression stiffness, and before it looked like a napkin dripping over. But as we play with the shear stiffness and also the bending stiffness, you can get it to behave more like a liquid. Damping is the rate of decay for the movement for tension, compression, and shear. So I'm just gonna play around with bending and also the vertex mass. So right now kind of droops over a bit too much, more than I like. Also the frosting's a little bit too big, so I'm going to scale it down in edit mode. Frosting is too small, so again go into edit mode, scale up, and play the simulation again. And that looks a bit better, but I see some artifacts going on, so I'm going to play around with the shear, which lets it behave more liquidy. And getting closer, but I noticed this like little artifact going on here. And play again, play with the dampening, and it's still not going away, because despite trying playing with damping, and I saw this earlier, but it's caused by a concave vertex on the quad, and something like that, I would just imagine it messes up with the subdivision surface modifier. So pushing that vertex out kind of solved the problem, and looking at it now, it looks much better. Still play with the vertex mass, but now it kind of drags itself too much. So I'm just going to drag that vertex mass down, and overall it's still looking good. Still a little bit of artifacts. So turn the shear settings a little. Ignore that Facebook message. But yeah, still getting better, and this is just part of the modeling process, just finding the right settings to reduce artifacts and get to the results. So I'm just playing with damping, and you can see how quickly it can cease movement if you play with the damping settings. Alright, so that looks pretty good, but in the inner perimeter doesn't look too good. So what I can do is maybe try to improve the simulation by adding subdivisions. Didn't really work. So what I have here is I'm going to randomize the edges, the outer edge, and essentially what that does is create more surface area for it to hug the donut. Kind of like the map projection problem where you try to unwrap a sphere in a plane, you can't do it without some deformation. So what I just did was create more surface area for it to hug the donut. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is just apply the material, make the donut doughy. And you can apply stuff like procedural materials to make the bready sort of look, but this is kind of a lazy tutorial. And what I have here is the sweet roll looking thing from Skyrim, but I'm just going to change it to chocolate. And yeah, looks pretty good. And that's what you get out of this tutorial.